Finally, an answer to the age-old question, which comes first, the chicken or the egg roll? Easy! Just eat whichever one's closest. The Sensation Salad and Filet Sandwich Meal are back at Zaxby's. Both feature our famous hand-breaded chicken, crispy wontons, Asian slaw, and citrus vinaigrette. And each comes with its very own egg roll for a limited time only at Zaxby's. Try them with fried pickles while supplies last.
From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up.
Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's.
Now here's Warchant.com's Aslan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What's up, everybody? It's Wake Up Warchant, proudly presented by Zaxby's Indescribably Good. It's golden fried chicken that should be a part of your diet. Check them out. They're probably near you. If you're in Tallahassee, there's several locations that are near and dear to our heart. You can pretty much go to all of them. Just there's one that, you can skip on that one. But I don't want to call that person out. Just go to all the great ones. Southeast, Capitol Circle, Mahan, Tennessee Street, Monroe, Thomasville, Bradfordville, practically Thomasville, Georgia, Marianna, Florida, Douglas, Georgia. Come on, let's go. Corey Clark, how are you?
I'm good, buddy. How are you doing?
Good. A little revved up, as you can tell. A little revved up. Forgot to scratch off, so I print out the schedule they give us weekly, bi-weekly in terms of the media availability, and then I print it out, and then after every day is done, I scratch it off. Just gives me a sense of accomplishment, so I just scratched off Wednesday, 12 hours after we're done with it pretty much. But still, though, feels good. It feels good. Another day in the rear view, one day closer to football, the season. Roll the footballs out. Let's play this game. Let's do it.
Now we're up to 16, right? We're 16 days away, so we're Chris
Pugh.
Winkie.
Okay.
Jacob Pugh, that's another way to go. That's another route to go. Probably Pugh over Winkie.
Yeah.
If you look at the careers and the totality.
Right.
Also, there Richard Coase, played in the early 90s. Not a ton of great 16s in Florida State's canon, but Chris Winkie, I guess, was a pretty good one.
Chris Ricks, maybe?
Sorry, I forgot about him. The better Chris.
Thank you.
The better Chris quarterback, correct.
Thank you. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source. Use that promo code WARCHANT30 for 30 free days of access to the website. You're listening to us on YouTube, please hit the thumbs up, maybe even subscribe to the YouTube page if you're listening to us on your regular old standard podcast platform. Go to iTunes if you're an Apple user, leave us a 5-star review, and a reason why Corey's toupee idea is the best idea of the year so far. Corey, I was working on a video on Wednesday before we sat down for this podcast, and it was Ira and Gene. I was just kind of officiating with them talking about the offensive depth chart segment by segment.
Okay.
And it kind of struck me that at pretty much every single level.
By the way, it's weird that I wasn't invited to take part in that, but hey, whatever. My feelings aren't hurt.
I didn't really want to, So it's really not a big deal, everybody. It's, Corey's overworked already. Typing that. He's probably got carpal tunnel right now.
I feel like my voice is heard it plenty.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on in Atlanta real quick? You guys lit up Garrett Cole? Did I see that right?
It was his first loss in 28 starts.
Let's go.
Something like that. Yeah, hit 3 home runs off him. Acuna took him deep on the first batter of the game. Sorry, Garrett Cole.
Let's go.
That stuff doesn't fly, my man. Yeah. That stuff doesn't fly in Atlanta. And then Freddie Freeman hit a 2-run homer in the nightcap in the 6th inning, which was the last inning the Braves batted because of the weird 7-inning doubleheaders. So the Braves swept the Yankees. How about that, Aslan? What do you think of that?
Yeah, Garrett Cole, how about you some of those millions by a Tom Mamansky tape? Maybe get your fundamentals cleaned up, loser.
Yeah, that ain't flying in the A, my man. Yeah. It might work in the American League. It doesn't translate to the National League.
No, it doesn't. So doing this exercise, if you will, of going segment by segment, it kind of struck me as I'm editing the video afterwards and trying to come up with clever titles for each different sort of pivot they make in the topics. Every segment's got one dude. Maybe quarterback, you wouldn't say James Blackman's a dude, but James Blackman pretty much has a firm grasp on the starting job. But you look at him, behind him in the backfield is Jay Sean Corbin, and then who knows. Out wide, you feel good about Tamorian Terry at one spot, and then who knows. On the offensive line, you feel really good about Dante Lucas, and then the other 4 guys, who knows. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's like a problem, if everybody deals with that, if that's just the reality of being you are who you are and you're outside the top 25 and that's just what most of these people are kind of dealing with. Not to say that there isn't talent, not to say that like a guy like Warren Thompson couldn't emerge and maybe Wyatt Rector is some crazy sort of, development that happens. Maybe Devontae Love-Taylor shows that he can be all conference in the ACC as well. But like I was like trying to figure out different ways to basically being like, it's this guy and then who knows? Because it was like Corbin and company. And then it was like Cam, the man, and then who else? So I just kind of saw that pattern. But I'm not worried. I just found it interesting.
Okay. I mean, interesting might be a strong word. But certainly noticeable, I think, is a correct word. Yeah, man, I think they have. I think Keyshawn Helton's a guy that if he's fully healthy, like they're acting like he is, we kind of know what he is, right?
Right.
He's a good player.
Yeah.
I think he's a good player. And then running back wise, that's a ton of question marks. Offensive line, same thing. Yeah, sure. Tight end. I don't even know if you could say number one. I don't know if you could say Corbin and company. We don't really know about Corbin. And to that point, we don't really know about Cam McDonald. We think they're going to be good, but neither one of them have really proved it at a high level, not consistently anyway. So a lot of question marks on that side of the ball, my man, but we do think they're pretty talented.
Right. And despite all that, we still feel pretty good about
9 wins, overall. 9 to 11 wins.
Let's go. We're going to Phoenix. We're going to the Fiesta Bowl.
Can't wait to see if there are bowl games. By the way, I literally, as you say Phoenix, as we're recording this, I'm watching the Weather Channel. Tomorrow, the high in Phoenix is 113.
Nice. Mild.
113.
A mild 113.
I will say this, and I've been in both. Like I was in Vegas, like in July of. Now it's been about 7 or 8 years ago, but and I was in Vegas, and it must. I think the outside temperature was like 111 or 109, and I still tell you, folks, an August day in Tallahassee feels worse. Like it just does. It's so moist and gross and wet.
Thick.
So tomorrow the high in Portland, Maine is 67 degrees. So how about that? There's a what is that? It's a 46 degree difference in one part of the country and another.
Amazing. Sea to shining sea, buddy. Shining sea.
Maybe not the best few days for this country. But it's still, magical when you sit back and think about how big it is.
Yeah.
You can have a high of 67 in Portland, Maine, and a high of 113 in Phoenix.
On a serious somewhat note, hope everybody who's listening to us, I don't know if it's considered like the Texas Gulf Coast and the folks on the western end of Louisiana, hope you're all staying safe. And as we record this, things don't look very encouraging for, Hurricane Laura. That thing looks like a freaking
It's
barrel,
a beast, man. It's a beast. And it's hitting them at night, like late at night. And there's some cities like, Houston is apparently like just a big bowl. Yeah. So even though it's inland by 40 or 50 miles, it can really flood quickly. Obviously, Lake Charles looks like it's right in the path.
Oh, God.
And, I saw the Louisiana National Guard came out and said, look, if you chose to stay at home, you need to have tools to be able to get out of your roof, to be able to cut through your roof, to get through your attic and get to the roof. And it's like, man, if you have to be told, if you're staying home, that you better be able to have a way to get through your roof, don't stay home. But if I know some people can't leave, and I get that and understand that, and I hope everybody in general, not just the people that listen to this show, I'm not going to single them out. I hope everybody in general found a way to get out of the way of this thing because it looks like it's going to be awful, awful flooding.
Yeah. All right, a couple of guys you mentioned, Keyshawn Helton, Wyatt Rector. I had this sort of thought, and I don't want to go too deep into it. Some people still get upset that we bring Willie up on the show, but again, I don't really care about those people. Not because I'm trying to be rude or arrogant, but it's just, we're a podcast that talks about Florida State every single day practically, and it's football season, so we're going to be here doing this 5 days a week, and he had his fingerprints on this program for the better part of 2 years. So, you just kind of fall back sometimes into thinking why you are where you are because of whom. Like, what if he just should have been an NFL scout and then could have worked himself up and then, like, that would have been his career trajectory? Because you think about, like, Keyshawn – well, no, I'm not being – and I hope people don't think that's me being like debasing him or denigrating his ability. Like,
Well, I
obviously,
mean, we have an idea of what scouts get paid. And
Right.
we know what head coaches get paid.
Well, I mean, listen, he's doing fine financially. He's killing it. I just meant in terms of maybe like longevity, or maybe he'd have a different sort of dimension to his game as a head coach if he maybe went down that path. Because again, I mean, who knows how well these guys are going to produce? But you think about a guy like Keyshawn Helton, like under-recruited guy who seems to be a spark plug of a human being, and probably is going to translate to the football field as well. I think he had a big touchdown catch against Boise in the route in the first half. I think he had a pretty good play against Louisville. He obviously got injured midway through the season. I mean, Wyatt Rector, this kid, he's earned a scholarship to play tight end at Florida State University. I mean, you could scoff and say, well, hey, they brought some transfer in, he got injured, there's nobody else, what do you expect them to do? I don't know. They could Deontay Sheffielded him and made him stay a walk-on for a few more years. Melvin Ray's a guy that we've been hearing about, maybe sort of emerging as good depth for them. He's a guy that really wasn't recruited all that highly. Maybe at least some credit we could give him is that while he maybe didn't get those super-duper stars, as you like to classify them as, Corey, he does seem to have a pretty good knack about finding kids that might not be the most talent-rich on film or something. I don't know how to describe it. Like, we were talking about the recruiting podcast or the recruiting show with Michael Langston. Tyler Higbee's a kid who went to my high school. Don't even really know the kid all that well or at all, honestly. Pretty sure Willie recruited him at Western Kentucky. He's now been in the NFL for 4 or 5 years. It's kind of crazy to see that maybe some of these kids that are going to flourish that didn't have the big names or the big stars next to them were kind of guys that I think Willie maybe stuck his neck out and went and got. So that's kind of an interesting thing as well, I thought. Stuff that we need to talk about as Florida State has a day off on Thursday pretty much.
That's true. And speaking of Wyatt Rector, that was I really enjoyed listening to him and him talk about his. He for the people that don't know, he was awarded a scholarship. He was a walk-on last year, and then up until this point of this year at Florida State. I guess he started his career at Western Michigan. Is that right?
Correct.
And then went to Lenore-Rhine
for a few hours.
Yeah, for a couple minutes, and then was like, wait a minute, this is Lenore-Rhine. And then just basically quit college, quit football, went back home, worked at a Walgreens. We would still throw with some of his former teammates from high school, and his dad and mom kept talking him into maybe staying ready just in case a university called. And then Florida State did call and offered him a spot, not a scholarship, but a spot. And then whatever it is, a year and a half later, he's being told by Mike Norvell that he's earned a scholarship. And he talked about how he just broke down, like it was going to be so much easier for his parents. The financial burden on his parents had been lifted. The financial burden on him had been lifted. And I thought that was really neat. Like Deontay Sheffield, it's a really cool story too, but my man wasn't about the waterworks. He was angry. Like he was angry that it took that long. Not angry at Norvell, just angry that, he had told some schools no because Jimbo had assured him that, look, you're going to be gray shirted or you're going to be a walk on in the fall when you get here, but then the following spring when we have numbers, we're going to put you on scholarship. And then Jimbo left, and Willie did not follow through on that promise. It reminded me a little bit of when Rudy got the Ara Parseghian told Rudy after the junior year, he's like, yeah, I'll put you in for one game. One game I'll put you in. You earned it. And then Dan Devine takes over and is like, no. Dan Devine didn't want anything to do with it. Ara didn't tell him, hey, by the way, I promised this walk-on that he could play. So Willie didn't get the message, so Sheffield was still a walk-on, and then basically started in the bowl game and ran for like 80 or 90 yards. Still didn't earn anything. And then Norvell gave it to him on Monday. I guess it was Monday or Tuesday. But he was still, you could tell it was like, yeah, it's about time. Like he was like, he didn't break down. He basically kind of said he sat there and just accepted it. Meanwhile, Rector, who came in right after him, the exam as we call him, came in Norvell's office right after that and said he broke down immediately and then called his parents and broke down again. But either way, it was a really cool story, and it's cool for both of them. It's awesome that Sheffield stayed here, worked through it, went through everything he went to. He wasn't lied to because I think Jimbo would have honored that. It's just that Willie didn't promise him a scholarship. So Willie shouldn't be beholden to Jimbo's promises. And he didn't get it. He didn't get it for 2 years, and now Norvell gave it to him. And I think it's cool for both of them.
And the thing is, you need to probably give Wyatt Rector a scholarship, as crazy as that sounds, just because like, you have nobody else at tight end. But good grief, you have a whole bunch of running backs. I mean, and I don't know in terms of like how much Mike Norvell cares about Deontay Sheffield's feelings. But, I mean, you could probably explain it away like, hey, man, like, you were great. We love you. But, dude, like, we got all these other guys. So
did you like his reason? I thought that was pretty interesting reasoning. I never thought about that before because we see so many times the walk-ons getting rewarded the scholarships and, on video and the whole team erupting and being excited and breaking down and hugging them. And it's a really cool moment. And then I would have thought, my initial thought would have been, yeah, well, Norvell was a former walk-on too. So you think he definitely, that would be the thing he loved to do the most. Like, get the team together, don't tell them what it's about, and then reward these kids scholarships in front of the team so they can all be celebrated because Norvell went through that same route. And then Rector was saying, yeah, he kind of told, he doesn't want Rector. I think Norvell told Wyatt Rector, like, look, there's a lot of walk-ons on this team. Some of them deserve scholarships too. So I don't want to celebrate you in front of some other walk-ons that might deserve it too, but we just don't have the spots. Everybody on this team is important. So just because you have a scholarship doesn't mean that the guy that I didn't give the scholarship to is any less important. So I thought that was an interesting message.
Well, it's kind of less important because he's not getting the scholarship. But
that's a good point. But
I understand what you're saying. No,
yeah.
Honestly, part of me, I mean, I never talked about it on the show because there was, didn't want to keep taking shots at the guy. Part of me felt mildly uncomfortable when they did that for Baselli last year, just because Sheffield was kind of promised a scholarship and wasn't given one. And then you had a kid who came here on scholarship, quit, comes back, and then within, I don't know, like 6 months of being back on the team, gets a scholarship. And they have this, sort of celebration during practice or afterwards where they give it to him. And I think Sheffield was happy for him. I don't think Sheffield resented him. I think he might have even been one of the guys in the scrum patting him on the head or tweeted out congratulations to him. But I remember thinking, I'm like, that's kind of an odd thing to do when you have to realize that's in the back of his mind, at least Deontay's mind.
Well, and also not that it should matter in a situation like that because if you earn it, you earn it. But Tony Baselli made $32 million in his playing career.
Right.
And is I think he's he does NFL broadcasts now. Yeah, I think he's like a Westwood One guy. So I don't know Sheffield's backstory at all as far as his home finances, but I have a feeling Baselli could maybe afford to pay for another year of school than Deontay Sheffield. So maybe that shouldn't be a part of it, but that too would if I was a coach, that might come into play a little bit too, which probably isn't fair. I mean, Willie Taggart's kid is on scholarship at FAU, and we all know Willie Taggart's getting paid $16 million by one school to not be at that school anymore.
Oh, man.
Sorry, I don't mean to bring up old stuff, folks. I apologize.
I got you. Otherwise, news and notes from speaking to Coach Norvell and the players. Did we get an assistant yesterday? We didn't get an assistant on Wednesday, did we?
They're letting us down.
Yeah, well, it's fine. No, I'm not. That wasn't me complaining at all. I promise you.
Up to 43 now, I think, because we got two guys today we hadn't gotten before, right?
Right.
I guess we had gotten Rector before, right? We just had who else would we get?
Griffis.
We got Sheffield,
Griffis,
and Griffis. Yeah, we hadn't gotten Griffis before this preseason. So yeah, folks, just know there's 85 kids on scholarship now. I think they're at the limit, and we've talked to literally more than half the team. We've gotten a chance to interview 43 different players. And Mike Norvell, we've interviewed 17 times so far, just in the last 3 weeks.
I guess the big news, quote-unquote news, relative to what's going on in the world, Isaiah Bolden, who seemed to be like a really freakish athlete back there in the secondary, and is a guy that we sort of neglected to mention on occasion when we did talk about just how deep and talented that secondary was, apparently has done the reverse Xavier Rhodes and is going to go from cornerback or safety to playing wide receiver. Nice sort of answer from Mike Norvell when asked what about his skill set translates well to the receiver, and he points out, well, he's tall, he's fast,
Yeah.
You guys can see that sort of stuff. Do you infer anything from that move vis-a-vis potentially or whatever DJ Matthews' status with the program is? He was asked about that by our own Gene Williams, founder administrator of WarChant.com, and said that DJ still hasn't been back out there didn't offer any sort of effusive endorsement of his status with the program. But do you think that changed? There's any correlation or anything with those two things?
Yeah, I do. I think that we don't know DJ's status with the team. We don't know his status health-wise. But certainly he's not getting ringing endorsements. His position coach was asked on Wednesday or on Tuesday. I guess we did get Dugans on Tuesday, right?
Correct.
He was asked about Warren Thompson and DJ Matthews and chose to only speak about Warren Thompson. Didn't even acknowledge that DJ was asked about. And then Mike Norvell was a very tepid response when asked about DJ's status. Just said he had a conversation with him last week. Now, keep in mind, he was talking on Wednesday. So you're talking about at least 4 or 5 days since he had talked to DJ, and basically didn't say that he was off the team. But it just wasn't a ringing endorsement. We have no idea when DJ's coming back, and you need bodies there. You don't have a ton of experience, especially without DJ. You got Pokey, you got Tamarian Terry, you got Keyshawn, who's coming off a devastating knee injury, although he apparently looks pretty good, but still, he's coming off a devastating knee injury 10 months ago. And then Jordan Young, who's never really done much at this level. Warren Thompson, who knows, the ultimate wild card. Right. And then some freshmen. So there's certainly room for a guy to come in and compete. And I think it has something to do with that. You're pretty thin at wide receiver, not knowing DJ's status. You're pretty thin at wide receiver. Or Warren Thompson's stat, how much is he practicing right now?
Right.
And then also, your secondary is loaded. And there is a reason we weren't ever mentioning Isaiah Bolden in the secondary. It's because we completely forget about him. Because there's so many other people to talk about, and there's probably so many people he was behind. So it's okay, you can sit and be our third-string safety or our third-string corner, not really play a whole lot, and just kind of waste that body and that speed, or you can go to a position where we actually need some numbers, and maybe you get a chance to get out there and play with that body and that speed. So I think it's two-pronged. It's the fact that he wasn't going to play much at DB, it wouldn't appear, and then also the wide receiver needs some depth. B.J. Ward played wide receiver. Do you remember that?
B.J. Ward?
I know. Yeah, I know you remember him just for catching. Was it? Yeah, I
block
think it was
and
B.J.
kicks.
Ward for blocking kicks. But yeah, I think there were a couple games late in the. I don't want to. Maybe the 04 season, 03 season, 2 season.
I think 04.
Maybe 02 season where he was a receiver.
I'll look it up on Knoll Fan while we pivot. Well, I won't pivot. I'll look it up, though. But I'll say the real encouraging or cool thing about the whole Isaiah Bolden move was it sounded like he was totally on board with it. I don't know if he went to Norvell with it, but Norvell made some sort of comment about Isaiah saying, I want to do whatever I can do to help this team win now, which, I mean, not to say that wasn't happening a year ago or 3 years ago or 16 years ago, but again, for him to kind of make this impact on these guys is a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. So I looked it up. In 2001, he had 6 catches for 81 yards.
Ooh, look at that.
And a touchdown.
I thought he played later on, too. But, yeah, all right. Look at you.
Yeah, 03, he was a starting defensive back.
Talented guy. Talented young man he was. Also, defensively, this is a guy that we haven't mentioned, and it's a position of need. With Deontay Williams, the transfer from Baylor, who I guess has been out a few years. And there's somebody that pretty much on every single video that we post on YouTube comments, D. Williams, hashtag 42 or number sign 42. I think that's the number he's wearing. Then with the eyes looking out the side emoji, like, hey, what about this? Like pretty much every single video. So whoever, if you're related to him, cool. That's pretty cool. That'd be nice, right? That's something that we're not talking about. That's people like X Factors, under the radar guys. Not to say he's going to go out there and get double-digit sacks, but what if he gets a third down stop against Sam Howell? That'd be pretty cool. But that's a guy that we haven't talked about that we might need to remember is out there.
You're right. Yeah, he hasn't been brought up a ton. Again, I think we're looking at depth purposes there.
Right.
Not going to be a starter, not this year, but yeah, man, all the numbers you can get help. And I think what Norvell talked about 2 days. Man, we literally talk to the guy every day. It is hard to keep.
Yeah.
Remembering what he talked about what days. But he talked about how it reminded me of what Leonard Hamilton talks about. He was talking about his defensive line in the depth. And he's like, we want these guys to play as hard as they possibly can. And we want our ones and our twos to be so similar that when our ones go out, our twos come in, and they have to play as hard as they can, and they have to give us unbelievable effort. And then that way you're basically unblockable. You're going to be rotating in guys, and you're always going to be fresh, and they're always going to play as hard as they possibly can. And it reminds me of Leonard talking about his basketball team and why he always wants to play 10 or 11 guys is because he wants them to play like a Raekwon Evans. He wants Raekwon Evans to come in. I was going to say David Nichols, but he's not on the team anymore. Raekwon Evans comes in and spells Trent Forrest. Yeah. And he needs to go in there and play as hard as he can possibly play because that other opposing point guard hasn't come out of the game. So he gets a fresh Trent Forrest for the first 6 minutes of a game, maybe 8 minutes of a game. And then Trent Forrest goes and gets a rest. Meanwhile, another 6'4" guard comes in and is just as harassing and just in his face as Trent Forrest was for another 4 or 5 minutes. Then Trent Forrest comes back in and he's fresh again, and this guy's exhausted. So that's what they're looking for with the D. I mean, I know it's not earth-shattering. That's what every coach is looking for with their D-line. But it sounds like they're close to it. Like they do have numbers. When Fabian Lovett, again, Adam Fuller was talking about that guy like he is going to be a star. And he's their third defensive tackle. Maybe their fourth. Who knows? He's not the top two. And, I guess he'd be the fourth. So that's your fourth defensive tackle. And then you're talking about a kid from Baylor. And then you got, the other defensive. A lot of it, so much of it comes down to Kendo, though, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Man, if he can be the guy that we're hearing about, if he can be just a disruptor, we don't need huge numbers out of you, Kendo. You're not going to break Bulware's season sack record, or you're not going to get into Marcus Walker territory. We want to see some pressures. Am I right, Aslan? Some hurries.
I don't want to be a jerk about it, but go out there and play like I would, or you would, or I think like 90% of the people that would give a limb to play for Florida State that would have those physical abilities that he has. And I think that that was like the narrative around him. I'll always remember after the Notre Dame game in 2018, he was one of the people they brought into the post-game conference room or whatever, and it was just really bizarre. I wasn't even there to hear most of it, but I remember filming it like in the background. And he was just kind of like laughing and just shrugging his shoulders and he like literally laughed at one of the questions, I think, about, what's it like losing these games in this sort of fashion. He kind of laughed at it, which, I guess what can you say at that point? But it was just like, is this guy really all in on playing football? He's an intelligent kid, so he definitely is taking his academics seriously. I think he maybe aspired to be in the medical field. But it's just, hey, look at you. Look in the mirror, Josh. Look at what you are. Look what you're built of. Like, use it. Be violent out there.
For all we know, that was coming, and that was going to be him last year.
Yeah.
And he got hurt. He got hurt in the third game of the season. He had I think, 3 tackles for loss in 2 games, so he was being more productive than he had ever been before. And then I thought he was playing really well. He didn't have huge numbers against Virginia, but I thought he was playing well in that game. He was making an impact.
He was.
And then, he goes down for the season. And I'm not saying that he thinks like this or whatever his motivation is. It's also a money year, a huge money year. Mm-hmm. Kelvin Benjamin. It would appear Kelvin Benjamin, out of the 29 years he's been on Earth, has been in shape for about 2.5 of them. But they were 2013 and his rookie year in 2014. And he was incredible when he got into shape and cared, like really, truly cared. And I don't know that he truly cared because he thought they were going to win a national title. He knew that he was draft eligible, and he was a 6'5" freakazoid. And if he cared, and also he had a quarterback that could get it to him. And after the first couple games, he's like, wow, this guy sees me when I'm open. It changed everything. And he became, at the end of the year, he was... honestly, he was probably the best player on the team at the end of the year. At Florida, the Auburn game, he made huge play after huge play. And then it was, he was okay for his rookie year, and then it kind of went away after that. But I think Kendo, not that Kendo's ever been in bad shape. I think Kelvin was more just his weight. But Kendo with that mindset of, this is my year to go get money, to go make money and get paid. Nothing against that mindset at all. We all should have that mindset.
No, absolutely not.
If that's what it takes, if that's the motivation, then if he can turn into that guy, I don't think he's going to be the Kelvin Benjamin of the defense necessarily. But if he can turn, like I said, if he can turn into an all-ACC caliber player, you might have the best defensive line in the country. And we all know what you got in the secondary. So you really do have a chance to have a pretty darn good defense.
I do think Adam
16
Fuller,
days away too, Aslan. Only 16 days away.
By the way, I should pull this. I should have had this pulled up earlier. I keep talking about the first game is like September 2nd, but I think it's actually the 3rd. Whatever the Thursday is, it's Southern Miss in South Alabama, which I think is going to be on CBS Network. But somebody was pointing this out to us on Warchant's Tribal Council. I'm going to pull it up right here. His name is, come on, Aslan, figure out how to do your job. MIA Wise Knoll. He's been posting forever, and the other day I finally realized that it's like I always thought it was like Miaweezy. I thought it was some sort of tribal name, but I think it's just Miami, and he's Wise, and he's a Florida State fan. It tells us, FYI, the first college football game is this, all caps, this Saturday, August 29th. The Governors, Austin Peay versus Central Arkansas, the Fighting Mike Norvells. So we got that. You want to get together for that? You going to be around?
No. No, I wouldn't want to get together for that. The only thing I remember about Austin Peay is I think in the mid-'80s, they were playing Illinois in the first round of the NCAA tournament. I think it was Illinois. And Dick Vitale said if Austin Peay beats Illinois, he will stand on his head. And Austin Peay beat Illinois.
Did he?
There was something else about Go Peay Go or Go Peay.
Okay.
Like that was their chant. That was their little cheer. So those are the two things I know about Austin Peay, other than they are also named the Governors. But there is zero chance I would watch that game. But it is cool that they'll be playing a game this year and Ohio State won't. That makes me happy for some reason.
Here is your Week 1 ESPN schedule, boys and girls.
Let's hear it. What day? What? Give us the dates.
Saturday, August 29th, 9 p.m. all times Eastern.
2 days. 2 days away.
Austin Peay versus Central Arkansas.
Okay.
Thursday, September 3rd. Now, these are all ESPN games, so I can't speak for CBS Network and these other outlets. Central Arkansas is back at it. They play on the 29th and turn right around and play on Thursday, September 3rd, because they want to play football core. They're going to play UAB at 8 p.m. That's on ESPN 3.
Okay, all right.
And then Saturday, September 5th, a slew of games, if I could interest you. Eastern Kentucky at Marshall at 1. SMU at Texas State at 4:30.
Okay.
ULM at Troy at 7.
Right.
Or you can pick over. You can go over to Houston Baptist in North Texas, the Mean Green. And then the only way to wash all that down would be a double dip at the night, 8 p.m., 9 p.m. kickoffs. Arkansas State at Memphis, followed by Stephen F. Austin at UTEP. But wait,
I think
more.
BYU might play.
Oh, yeah, Monday, September 7th.
Okay.
BYU at Navy, ESPN.
Man, I'm telling you, I'm fired up. Memphis is playing, so you can go and see what kind of talent Norvell left. Yeah, man, that's it's here. It's here. It's every day you just cross your fingers and hope that you don't see something come down on Twitter, or you don't see an outbreak of 7,000 kids on one campus. But so far, well, I'm not even jinx. I'm not even gonna finish the sentence. I'm not even finish the sentence because I don't want to jinx anything.
And South Alabama, Southern Miss, 8 p.m. September 3rd, CBS Sports Network. So
okay, all right.
NC State, though, they're starting 2 weeks late. This is crazy.
Yeah, they're starting the same time as the SEC and Big 12, right?
Yeah, I guess that's one way to look at it, right? That's a crazy thing. It was always, not always, but I remember when we talked about this stuff in April, like, is there going to be a football season? I'm like, there'll be a football season, but there's no way it's going to start on time. And then we get into May, and it's, well, they shouldn't, the sooner they can play, actually, the better. And then that sort of then become back full circle where, the SEC, I think, is starting. I don't know if the Big 12 starting a little bit later too, right? Or is the Big 12 going off with us in the ACC?
No, I think ACC's the first up, man.
Yeah, just means more than there.
Exactly. It just means a lot.
It just means a lot. That's freaking right. So 2 weeks, whatever. Figure it out, NC State. Get your house in order. We're doing just fine over here.
Again, don't say stuff like that.
No, I'm kidding. We'll see soon enough, right? They'll begin tested here, and all the students are kind of back. Apparently, the student government at Florida State, FAMU, TCC signed a pledge, created a pledge. John Thrasher has endorsed to telling all the kids, like, be responsible.
And how is that not going to work?
I don't know.
You telling me you're going to sign a pledge and then not live up to it? Right.
I mean, hey, when I was 8, we had to do the smoke-free class of 2000 pledge.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not going to lie.
Did you break it? Did you ever break the pledge?
I mean, yeah. But, I mean, shoot.
See?
In my lifetime, I haven't smoked a pack of cigarettes, if you add it all up.
Okay. And do you think a lot of that comes back to the pledge?
Absolutely, man.
Okay. I thought it might be like, the lung cancer and the commercials we all saw and just how you stink if you smoke. Not you stink as a person. Well, literally, you just stink because you smell like smoke. I thought that would be more inclined to keep you away from smoking than the pledge you signed as an 8-year-old. But hey, I'm all for it. Anything you can get. If maybe a pledge means something to a 19-year-old, finance major. He's like, look, I definitely want to go out with you. You're very pretty. And your roommate's having people over. Oh, that sounds up. But I signed this pledge, so I can't. We can Zoom. I don't necessarily see that happen. It reminds me. I don't know why, because it's not. It's not an analogy at all. But it reminds me of in A Few Good Men when Demi Moore objects. And she's like, your objection's noted. I strenuously object. He's like, oh, is that how it works?
Right.
You strenuously object, and that changes things? It's like, oh, okay. Everybody in this country seems to be in danger of this thing, but you signed a pledge? That's gonna keep the campus safe, this pledge? But hey, it's better than not signing a pledge, am I right?
You listen to me, man. I only got 2 things in this world. My word and my balls. And I break them from nobody. All right,
is that Jack Nicholson from A Few Good Men?
That's exactly what it is. I like the quote, regulations have been established, processes have been explained, and it is up to us to be responsible and accountable for our actions moving forward. It has been a blessing and a privilege to return to Tallahassee and walk around our beautiful campus. However, for this blessing to once again become a daily part of our FSU experience, we must take the necessary precautions to fight COVID-19. I mean, sold me. That was good. Well done, Jonathan.
I'm all about
Levin.
it, man. I hope they live that life. And I'm not being cynical. I hope they live that life. I hope the people that signed that pledge live up to it. I hope the people that don't even know about the pledge live up to it. I'm a bit cynical about the whole thing.
If you could get your hair back, but it had to be a mullet, a la Josh Griffis, do you take it?
No. I didn't ever look great with hair anyway.
Oh, stop.
But with a mullet, I don't think, there's no way I'll land someone like Stephanie with a mullet.
All right.
I think what it opens you up to as far as the opposite sex, I think it narrows it a lot. Okay. I know there's some women, probably plenty of women, that don't dig bald guys. But I still think like you're fishing from a bigger pond as a bald guy than you are as a guy with a mullet. And the people that maybe are attracted to guys with mullets, I don't know if I want to, commiserate with them necessarily. That's all.
Okay. All right.
No offense to Josh Griffis, but he's also a 19-year-old football player that benches 450 pounds. So he's got other things going for him that Corey Clark never had.
If one of your teammates said that Corey Clark benches 500 pounds, but really you only bench 450 pounds, would you let the legend go or would you correct it?
No, I liked that he did that. I liked that he corrected it. That was funny. No, I think I would come back and say, I think I'd come back and tell the truth. It was cool that McClendon said that. He's like, yeah, when I saw put 500 up on the bench. But Josh Griffis was like, no, I never did that. He goes, I'm in the 400s somewhere. Which, I mean, we all are, right, Aslan? I haven't benched in a while. I haven't maxed out on the bench. But I assume I'm somewhere in the 400s.
Whatever, man. We all know you rep out with 315. Don't try to oversell it.
Now, the 2.5 to 3 years that I was really working out pretty hardcore, which is how I got my nickname.
Right.
I got up. Now, I didn't do free weights because I would be in like the Gold's Gym or whatever gym I was at. I'd be in by myself at night. And so I didn't have a spotter. And I'm talking about like 1 a.m. So I would do what do you call is it the Nautilus?
Yeah.
And I could get, when at my peak, I was 285.
What?
Like sitting up and pushing out.
Yeah, let's go.
That bench press, I was 285.
How much of the stack? I mean, those are pins and stacks. So like of the stack, was it like 3/4 of the plates?
Yeah, it was like 3/4 of it,
right.
and I could get like 2 up. But then my buddy would always tell me, he's like, "Look, man, that's it's awesome because when I got in there, I could do like 140." He goes, "But it's probably closer to 250 in real life. Like if you were laying down benching, you probably could do 250." There's no way you could lay down on a real bench with free weights and do 285, which is probably right. But it still felt good, and boy, did it look good.
Yeah, man, you have good torso. You have good ratio of torso to limbs and levers. So I think you got those bulldog forearms of yours.
That's right, and my calves. Yeah, you could tell I was an elite athlete. The one thing that I do regret about my athletic career, which wasn't much to speak of, is the first weight I lifted, I was 30 years old. Like, I just never lifted weights. It didn't interest me at all. And it's like, man, that probably would have helped you, Corey, as a baseball player to be stronger. But I didn't care.
Mickey Mantle never lifted any weights.
That's true. Neither did Herschel Walker.
Yeah.
He just did 1,000 push-ups a day, which I didn't. Weirdly, I didn't do that either.
What are you going to do? That's crazy, though, that he's up to 260, he said. True freshman.
He started at 236, right, Griffis?
Yeah. He's been pointed out by the staff as a guy that's going to contribute this season. And that's another guy, defensive end, I think that helps you out. I mean,
well, he's playing the Fox, right?
Sure.
Opposite the stud. He's playing the Fox, and which means he has to drop back in coverage some. So that's what I was. That was interesting to me. I thought that he's put on this weight, but they still drop him back a little bit into coverage because that's part of what that position does. Where it sounds like the stud is more just go get the quarterback.
Can we just go back to Mickey? Can we just run, just chase the quarterback, man? Well, I guess you got to remember 2007 and 8 and 9 when you want to go back to Mickey's time, but.
Well, yeah, the offenses have changed a lot since the mid-'90s.
Just get after the quarterback, man. Affect the quarterback.
You can't do the same thing all the time. Like right. I think most of the time he'll be getting after the quarterback, but occasionally you drop back just to take away a sight line, maybe to get in a passing lane, maybe bat a ball and pick it off or something like that. Like, did you watch Hard Knocks?
I have not. No,
So Melvin Ingram, like the day that he signs his whatever that was, the weird thing where he got they guaranteed him the money on his contract. Which way to go, NFL. They guaranteed him $14 million, and he started practicing again. Literally, the last play of the team drill.
You gonna spoil it?
Yeah. Well, it's not much. It's not a huge spoiler. He drops back into he comes like he's gonna blitz, drops back into coverage like 4 yards, and Herbert throws him a pass, and he just picks it off and returns it for a touchdown. So, I'm not saying Josh Griffis is going to be the next Melvin Ingram, but occasionally a defensive end dropping back and make a play. He's not going to be asked to be covering slot guys.
Chris Casher was pretty good covering guys coming out of the backfield.
Yeah, we all remember that. Those were the days.
Those were the days. All right, that's about the interesting things, I think, from the discussion we had with the players. Again, it was Wyatt Rector, Josh Griffis, Deontay Sheffield, and Coach Mike Norvell. You want to talk about Yellowstone at all, Corey? Have you gotten on this show?
I'm through the first 2 seasons.
Okay.
I can't watch the 3rd season right now on my iPad. I guess it's locked by the Paramount.
Peacock, yeah, NBC.
Is it
Paramount
Peacock or Paramount?
It's on Paramount Network, but if you have Comcast, which also, side note, by the way, a lot of people were tweeting and commenting that they live in Florida and they have cable and they get the ACC network, which is true. Folks that have Spectrum in Central Florida, maybe Jacksonville, but Comcast, which is in Tallahassee, which is where your alma mater, your favorite team is located. We, simple people, do not have ACC network with our cable package. But Yellowstone is on Paramount here in Tallahassee. If I use Comcast and I want to watch it on demand, it goes through Peacock, which is NBC Universal, which is part of Comcast, et cetera, et cetera. So,
right.
But yeah, you're right, Paramount.
I did want to say one thing that I feel like we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about, and trust me, folks, I'm not going into great detail on this at all, but in the coming days, pay attention to these college football teams and see what kind of dominoes fall from what the NBA did on Wednesday night, if any. Wouldn't that be a stand if Austin Peay decided they weren't going to play that football game on Saturday? Like, there's nothing really to take a stand on right now as far as football games, but that's something to at least keep an eye on moving forward because, it's something to keep an eye on. That was a day of reckoning. I don't think it's done, and it might.
You're being dramatic. The hyperbole's coming out of you. There's something. I mean, you're tossing the chum in the water. I'm going to bite on this. I was thinking about this as more of a rhetorical thing than anything. There is something culturally about the way kids are brought up playing football, and the way that coaches treat their players, and the way that players look at their coaches, and the way they're almost like guilted to a certain degree in some things. I can't see a football team doing any of that. I'm not fearful a football team boycotting.
Oh, and I don't know that they would necessarily say we're not playing the season. They've gone through so much, and I don't know that the NBA is going to actually say, "Hey, we're done. We're not playing. We're not going to finish out this season."
Well, Board of
but I
Governors
do
is
think there is
Thursday to
they
figure
are
it out.
going to want to present some sort of stand, and they have every right to want to present some sort of stand or stand with solidarity. Do their part, whatever their little part is for the late August of 2020. They might want to do, whether that means just not practicing one day or making a statement, whatever they might do. I think that's something you will see college football teams follow suit. Probably not to the extent of the NBA, but I do think it's something worth at least monitoring, because like I said, that could be a dividing line in this country, like before and after. Before the NBA boycotted and after the NBA boycotted. Like the sports world might look different. I don't think so. I'm not saying it will be, but I do think it's something that we might be talking about in a week.
I don't think it's going to be that way. You don't think it's going to be that way. We're the two guys that talk on the show. Why are we talking about it then?
Shut up, Aslan.
All right, whatever. Let's try to bring the country together. No, what they should do is be, hey, all right, we're going to give everybody off Election Day. And if you need a ride, we'll drive you wherever. Let them do that. I think that's...
that really should be a holiday. What are we doing? Flag Day is a holiday. I guess you don't get off work for my birthday on Flag Day, but it's a holiday.
We can change that.
Election Day should be a holiday every about 4 years, I guess, 2 years. That the first Tuesday of November should be a holiday all the time.
Well, if the guy
from now until we die.
Well, if the guy at 1600 Pennsylvania gets 4 more years, he might decide to make Flag Day a holiday. Might give everybody the day off.
That's true. It's Yasmin Bleeth Day.
There we go. Sweet, sweet Yasmin. God bless her. All right, that probably made some of you uncomfortable, so let's talk about a show that's about cowboys and Caucasians in Montana, Yellowstone. Have you liked it? I think
it's all right. It reminds me.
Right?
I did. It kind of reminded me, not as much, but it kind of reminded me of Sons of Anarchy.
Okay.
Did you ever watch that?
I did not. My brother was big into it, which is very weird. I don't know why he got into that.
Yeah, I watched it, and I think I finished it out, but it just got to be very repetitive. And I just saw the opening episode of season 3, and I'm like, oh, his land is being threatened again. Well, this is new territory. Right. Wow, this is going to be something. This is going to be something different. This is going to be something unique. He's worried about his land and his ranch. Okay, I mean, great. I know there's a lot of drama out in Montana at these ranches, but good grief, that's all the show's about. But yeah, I mean, it's good. It's nice. It's good enough. There's not a lot of laughs. Right. Some of the characters aren't likable at all. A show I did start watching, and I know this is why people tune in, so I'm going to go ahead and give it to you. It's called The Boys.
The Boys. And
it's on Amazon, and it's essentially about these. The world has like 200 or 250 superheroes, but they're bad people essentially, and they I won't even give away it starts out, but it starts out with a superhero like causing accidentally this horrific death because he wasn't watching where he was running, and just that nothing happens to the guy, and it's all just part of the deal, and they give him a check for the guy's girlfriend, they offer him $45,000 to make it go away, and they're just bad people that can do great things. And how the other half tries to stop the superheroes for running the country. To me, I'm only 2 episodes in, but it seems like it's really well written and it's really fun, pretty gross but well acted. And I would get on that, Aslan. I think that's something you would enjoy.
I don't have Amazon.
There's nudity.
Can we just gosh, I wish this. I was born too late, man. Like cable. Can we talk about cable shows? Can we make cable great again? Talk about cable.
No, nobody cares about cable.
Nobody
cares about this. I'll tell you one thing else. Something else I've been watching lately is old Siskel and Ebert's on YouTube. I just went down a rabbit hole a couple days ago, and I just watched their review of Platoon, and then their review of Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Platoon won an Oscar Best Picture, right?
Platoon was great, but Ferris Bueller they did not like. Okay. The only characters they liked were Jennifer Grey and Charlie Sheen. And Charlie Sheen was in it for 95 seconds. But it's cool to watch those shows, man. It's really neat to see them watch it in the moment. I thought anyway. I was always a huge fan of Roger Ebert anyway.
I will say this, the interesting thing about Yellowstone is I cannot remember the last time that I watched a show, ironically, on cable, I would think, that like I followed in real time to where I got to the season finale and it was like, oh, I have to wait now an entire year to watch this resume. I mean,
Game of Thrones, right?
No, I mean Game of Thrones.
Well, you got in on the last season. That's right. Yeah,
I binged that right leading up to the finale, the last season rolling out. So I didn't have to wait. And then Succession, I caught in the midst of the pandemic. I think I thought it was supposed to come out in August. We're almost done in August. So I don't know if maybe that's been delayed, but I guess I have to wait a little bit for that. But I caught that kind of on the back.
Yeah, that's
end.
right. That's right.
The thing that the weird thing. So Game of Thrones people.
So
get
you're
upset.
you're through all three seasons of
Yellowstone. Yeah, I'm
of
calling
Yellowstone.
I'll say this: the season finale is a real good cliffhanger.
All right.
The
I
funny
just hope he
thing
keeps
is,
his ranch. No spoilers,
No.
but I hope he keeps his land.
The funny thing is, so everybody complained about Game of Thrones, like the last season, for them jetpacking around Westeros. Like they'd go from one side to the next within like a 10-minute span. So like Yellowstone is roughly based on like Bozeman, which is southwest Montana, which Yellowstone is not too far from the actual national park, not the Dutton Ranch, if you will. And they talk about like, hey, go to Billings and go to this horse auction, or I found him in Dillon. Dude, these are 4 hours away from
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Like, it's like they the next scene is they're in this whole other city, and I'm like, man, it's Montana. Like, there are no cities that are next to each other. There's got to be 200-mile expanses from one city to another.
It's like, yeah, we found him while we're celebrating and getting beers at Dillon. Dude, you live in Bozeman. Why would you go 4 hours? That'd be me driving all the way to Atlanta, or I don't know, south of Atlanta, going to the airport. Like, hey, I'm going to go to the airport and have a drink with my buddy. Or I'll drive to Tampa to have a celebratory drink when I live in Tallahassee. Like, okay, maybe like Crawfordville if you want to get a little,
Hey, you're into the weeds too much, though, buddy. You're into the weeds a little bit. You got to have a little suspension of disbelief when you're watching Yellowstone.
Right. So there was that, and there was something else that caught my ear or interest about the show that now escapes me. So really, ultimately, was it really that interesting in the end? I do think it's a little bit overrated, but I guess it speaks to that cowboy spirit that a lot of people still have, hearkening to the old times, family, legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Costner, does he? You mean not all cowboys walk around pained and have these like weird accents. I think he should have just walked around like a normal.
Well, my man's never been great with the accents.
He
kind of struggled with. He was in that 13 Days in October, whatever that movie was, where he was John F. Kennedy's like right-hand man during the Cuban Missile Crisis. The Robin Hood accent he had for 7 minutes, and he's like, I'm just not doing this anymore. And just started talking like Kevin Costner again. Yeah, he's always struggled a little bit with the accents. Even in JFK, he had that Louisiana accent that would come and go. There you go. But I like him. He's a good actor. He can really play baseball. He's good at that.
How come that show gets away with being an HBO show in terms of content? They can curse. They can do everything.
They can show boobs. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not quite sure what we're doing here at the end of this show, but I like it. It's fine.
All right.
I appreciate what you've done. We're not all about. I'd rather hear more about maybe your lady friend.
Well, here we go.
Uh-oh.
The Lakers and the Clippers just voted to boycott the rest of the playoffs.
Oh boy.
So
yeah. So I think there's going to be that's a bummer. I get it though. It's just the NBA was doing it so well with the. But if people think that's the platform they have and that's the statement they want to make, then that's the statement they get to make. But man, the NBA was doing so well with the bubble. But I do think there will be, again, I think there could be some far-reaching consequences of people like LeBron James and Kawhi Leonard deciding not to play sports. So it's something to monitor. Wow, that's huge. That's crazy. It's happening in real time, folks. You get to hear us react in real time.
Yeah, it's Chris Haynes from Yahoo. David Aldridge told the players' meeting ended ugly, per a source. Uncertainty about what will happen tomorrow. The union will be present at the special Board of Governors meeting, per a source. 16 days away. Come to town,
right.
Georgia Tech. Feel the wrath. Norvell.
Come and get some.
Offense for playmakers. Thanks for hanging in there. Also, shout out to Jalen Ramsey. He donated $1 million, I think, to his alma mater, his high school. To affect change, so that's cool.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah, it was for disadvantaged kids to get an education, right? Wasn't that? I thought that's what I read in the press release.
I believe you then. Yeah, I don't know if it was given to his alma mater. I think he went to a pretty good school. He went to Brentwood Academy. I don't know how much does Brentwood Academy need any money to help out with things around there.
Probably not. But I don't remember the specifics other than it was in Tennessee, it was his home state, and then it was $1 million. So that's awesome.
$1 million to Purpose Preparatory Academy, Ramsey's hometown in Nashville. It's located in Nashville, to help the academy purchase necessary resources and expand its programming. It's important for every child to have the opportunity to receive a great education. These programs are designed for underprivileged children in my hometown to have access to those services. So there you go. Good on you, man. That's awesome.
Good job, Jalen. Good work, buddy.
And, sometimes, Jalen, you make me love you all over again, Ask Steve Smith, who's hurting now, right? That's right. Come on, Corey, you got to help me out these times.
Sorry,
we're done.
Sorry.
We'll be back. Renegade Express, all your questions, nothing but your questions. An entire episode dedicated to it. Can't wait. Hey, Corey, go be a good boyfriend to your girlfriend for letting you use your computer this whole time.
All right, I'm going to try my best.
Warchant.com is the ultimate inside source for FSU football and recruiting. And now you can get in on the action for free for an entire month. Warchant.com is offering a risk-free 30-day trial subscription. Get full access to the #1 website covering the Seminoles just by entering the promo code WARCHANT30. That's WARCHANT30. Sign up and get in on the world's most active FSU message boards. Receive breaking news, stories from our award-winning staff, plus get exclusive interviews and videos. Just enter the promo code WARCHANT30. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source.